Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we've got this Craftsman DLT3000 mower. Customer brought it in with this Honda GXV530 engine on it. It's pouring gas out of the overflow while it's running. Anytime you start it up, he said sometimes you can get it to run okay by playing with the throttle. But as soon as I started it, I knew that it was running way too high RPM. He also says when he unplugs the fuel solenoid, it'll run good for a little bit until it dies. That tells me we have a definite carburetor issue. I'm going to go through the full diagnostics and repair on this to get it taken care of if you have the same or a similar engine on your mower. Don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons as we go along if you enjoy the content. Get the hood out of the way. Got the hood scoop on it, makes it go faster. As we come down to the bottom of the carburetor, I pulled this hose out. I was looking for some leaking coming out of it. I did not find that when it was running yesterday afternoon. It was not leaking out of there, but many times when we have moved it around, it was leaking from the bottom of the tractor. They had it kind of poked through a hole down through here. But looking just down at the bottom, I see a spring just hanging and another spring hooked up. And then, as soon as I fire it up, it just races like crazy. I mean, it's half throttle. It's going probably 4,300 RPM or so. I'm not going to start it up and show you any of that currently because this obviously isn't right. This setup isn't. I'm going to look real quick and see exactly how that's all supposed to be hooked up. I would assume that he's just got the governor adjusted wrong, and this spring is supposed to be in the hole at this location, and this one may not even supposed to be here. I'm not really 100% positive, not real familiar with this, but that's what it's looking like here to me. After taking a good look, this spring is actually right. That's the one that's supposed to be there, and it's supposed to just be clipped right behind and then down to the spot, but this one is completely unhooked. So it is supposed to go on the top there, but at the bottom, it's supposed to be on the other side and then into our slot. And that's probably why we're going so fast. There we go. That's with zero throttle. Once we go up, we've got quite a bit of tension on it. I'm not sure. We may still need to set this. Let's see. I'm going to start at about half throttle and see what it does. Seemed good, actually. When we were using our tach, we were going right about 2,900 to 3,000 RPM. We want to be right about 3,450 is what I like to set it at. So we're going to just turn that up. The safety is just a little dot in the middle, and it's actually a T20 that we need to do this. This thing is actually sounding great now that we got that spring back on and we got it adjusted back to the correct RPM. But if fuel was coming out of this overflow, regardless of when it was, that means that there's something going on with that carburetor where the fuel was not being stopped by the needle in the seat or the float. And he said when he unplugged the fuel solenoid on the bottom, he said it would run good until it would die out. That was the only time it ran good. Otherwise, it ran poorly. Right now, I'm not seeing that, but that is telling us that the fuel is not being cut off. So either the float is bad or has a hole in it, which is unlikely because it's not flooding out now, or there's debris where the needle and seat's getting stuck, or the actual needle itself, the rubber is bad on it. All that the customer was really doing by unplugging the fuel solenoid is shutting off fuel supply to the mower. So when it ran good after that, before it died out, that's telling you that it's getting way too much fuel. Here, again, I'm not seeing that anymore. Everything is seeming good, but I don't want it to have that same problem once it goes back out. So we're going to pull the carburetor apart. Likely going to need some rebuild items for that. I'm going to get those coming, and we'll pull this apart as soon as those come in. I am going to get the needle, the seat, the float, and the other gaskets that we're going to need because I know I don't have those in stock, along with the intake and the block side carburetor gaskets. Those are likely going to need replaced anytime you're going to take a carburetor like this apart. And just by taking a quick look, honestly, if you look down the intake, there's Permatex in there or some sort of orange gasket material, which means that somebody's been into it. Diagnosing the issue on this one was rather simple. With fuel coming out of that overflow, no matter what, if it's coming out of there, there's an issue with the carburetor. So the needle and seat's sticking or the float's bad, there's debris stuck up in it somewhere. You've got to pull the carburetor apart and address it if that is the problem. Other ways to figure out if you have a carburetor problem, you may have an issue where it's not getting enough fuel or not getting good enough fuel. You can pull the line coming from the fuel pump off and you can test the fuel quality. If it looks nice and clear and it's not cloudy or anything, you know the fuel quality is good. Shouldn't be stale. If it's been sitting or you don't know exactly what the fuel quality is, drain the tank completely out, blow the lines and everything out, and start with some fresh fuel. If you're getting erratic running, poor running, or popping and cracking, and it doesn't seem to be another issue. When you pull the choke just a hair, if you pull it out a little bit and you can find a sweet spot where it's running good, you know that it's a fuel air mix. So either your air cleaner could be dirty, not getting enough air in, the fuel quality's bad, or debris in the carburetor or bad fuel. It's pretty easy to tell those things to address a carburetor issue. I always love to pull one spark plug wire off and listen to each cylinder run independently. You've got one side on the right, and you've also got another. So you've got two cylinders. They will run with just one cylinder. Very easy just to pull a spark plug wire off. I always like to hook a different spark plug or the same spark plug up, kind of hold it against the sides. If you pull one cylinder at a side, it'll tell you a lot about the health of the engine. It tells you whether you have spark and compression on that side. If you're not running on one side or the other, but the opposite side does run, you'd want to look at the spark plug, the ignition coil, possibly a valve issue. You've got two separate valve trains. But if it's running independently on both sides and it's still running rough, we know we can pin that down to the carburetor very easily by playing with that choke. Make sure to check the oil. Make sure there's not oil in the, or fuel in the oil. That happens a lot when the carburetors fail, and this one does smell a little bit fuely. It's not bad because I believe most of it's probably came out this overflow when it's failed. Again, I'm going to get those parts in here and I will show you how to clean and rebuild this carburetor to get it back up and going if you have the same or a similar one. At least we got the engine speed pinned down. Now, could the engine speed have contributed to the excess fuel flow? Potentially. If it's running extremely fast, you're obviously going to get a little bit more pressure out of the fuel pump, but these pulse pumps really don't put enough pressure out that it should be able to go past the needle in the seat anyway. A few days here, we'll be back and ready to go. We've got some parts in. Let's get this carburetor pulled off. See what it looks like. The only one that I could not find was the float. I ordered from 3 different places. All of them came back as out of stock. Of course, Amazon said they had them and then supposedly shipped them and they never came. It's just the way it goes. If we take our air cleaner off, we've got 2 10mm bolts and washers that screw down into the front of the intake assembly at the front of the carb. We've got 4 10mm bolts in the front. Can take those out. Let's go all the way through everything. And now we drop down. Yep, somebody's definitely been in it. So this comes out. You can take the breather attachment off. It's got 2 little pieces that slide in, so try not to lose those. What I love about this is all of the controls and everything kind of come with it. All we have to do is hang it down to the bottom. Try to just hang it out of the way so we can see enough. Yep, that should be perfect. We're going to unplug our fuel solenoid. We have the fuel line coming in. Gonna just try to twist. I guess I'll get my... I'm not a big fan of these type of fuel line clamps. There we go. See if I can't twist it a little bit. Usually if you can, it'll come right off. Definitely on there pretty good. Get to the back side and kind of pry. If you're going to do that, you might have to replace it. Just not a lot of room to get that off. Should be about the simplest part here. There we go, I broke it free. Put that up top so it doesn't pour gas back down onto me. Now we've got over here, we've got just a clip that holds the linkage. So all you've got to do is turn that to the right and the linkage will pop right out and we're free. We've got the drain tube that goes to the back on the bottom of the carb. The carb is the rest of the way free. Sometimes the insulator will come with the carb and sometimes it'll say stuck to the back. Either way, doesn't really matter. This looks like a brand new gasket too. I did want to notate that the overflow just pulled right off from the top of the carb. I'm going to leave it there and hook it back up, just kind of where it is when we put everything back together. Let's clean this all off first. Somebody did have this opened up. They didn't do a very good job of it. That or it's been a while. Just using gum out carburetor cleaner. I just don't want all that stuff off the outside of the carburetor getting down into it when we have it open. Blow this off with compressed air just out to the side. Just didn't want any of that getting on the camera. Happened last time, blew quite a bit of it all over the camera. All right. Fresh towel. I have to get that out. I just use my knife here. Yeah, so it was split at some point, it looks like, at the bottom. Whoever did this tried to make that work, which, yeah, I mean, potentially it could work. I got a couple tools. We'll start to disassemble this. We will eventually want to get all of this Permatex or whatever cleaned up. Guess now is as good of a time as any, instead of waiting until after we've already been into it and cleaned everything again. Just using a brass wire brush. Okay, let's pull the bowl off. And I've got a screwdriver that's just a regular Phillips, but I have ground down the tip to make it more like a GIS, so it grips better. I am going to just scratch a spot. That way I know which orientation this bowl goes back into. Just always easier for me. And you want to push while you turn on these. You don't want to strip that. But if you push in while you turn, it usually keeps that from happening. They're kind of rather rusty. Yeah, this actually looks pretty clean. As we go to get down in it, took the pin for the float out. Take the float out. There's no moisture or anything in the float. And we see, it looks like, I think there's supposed to be 2 jets going down through there, or 2 plugs, or feel like there's something missing. Now the needle, this is kind of what I was worried about, because that's what's not going to be sealing, and that's why it's going to be continuing to pump through. We look down in, so it's just a brass seat, so it's metal on metal. I don't really see anything down in there. Blow down through. Come out our other side. It looks relatively clean though. The jets and everything don't look bad. Interesting. And there's our, yeah, 2 little, I don't know what these actually do. Both of the pieces from the bottom of the emulsion tube are broken off. It's rubber. It's extremely old and brittle. Not uncommon to happen. Now I've got parts that have came in for this, but with those being broken, I'm not really sure, not sure that we can get those parts. So we may have to replace this carburetor as a whole. I'll pull these jets out and show you how to clean it regardless while we're here. Now the top, that screw has been completely stripped out too. So it's going to be hard to get this top off if we can get it off. It's just turning into more and more of a replace the carb versus rebuild it type of situation. The bad part is that was one of the options I gave the customer.
I wasn't really saving that much money rebuilding it versus replacing it. And keep track of which side goes where. If you'd like, these have just a tiny hole going straight down through the center of them. Those are going to be the pilot jets. And we've got main jets down in the bottom that essentially sit right under your emulsion tubes. So we've got to remove those from the center. And you've got to push real hard and turn since these are brass, otherwise they'll strip out. We want to make sure that it's clean all the way down through the center of both the pilot jets and the main jets. I always like to just pull a loom from the wire brush. This one's kind of already gotten jacked up. Some people use different things, guitar strings or whatever. Torch tip cleaners, they work well. But you want to make sure that's completely clean in all of these. And keep those situated to the same side if you'd like. These are the same, but different applications have them where one is different size than the other. So I always like to try to keep them separate. Now those are extremely clean actually. I don't see any gunk really in any of this stuff. It's kind of sad that we're going to have to replace this carburetor instead. Once you'd clean those, we'd put them back in. We can clean all this while we're at it. Basically, we'd want to just take the solenoid off the bottom. Easier said than done. This one's kind of on there. It's moving in and out. To test that, all you would do is hook the wire back up and you'd touch here back to ground somewhere, just any metal on the engine, and turn the ignition key to on. When you did that, this should suck in whenever it's touching ground to the case and the wire's hooked up and the ignition key is to on. That needle should suck in, and what that does is it allows fuel into the chamber that sends them through the main jets up through and then to the emulsion tubes. That's how it works. But we clean all this out real well. Down through each passageway is what you want. Completely clear. You can, if there's any kind of scale or anything in here, you can also use pieces of a wire brush, let it sit. A lot of times we use the ultrasonic cleaner to help with those. But all passageways, so you go down through here real well, down through the middle. Anywhere where you see a jet or a passageway is where you will clean. I don't think that actually has one. That's just a dimple in the metal. You can't get it too clean. It's not possible. So let's see. See if the rest of these will. Oh boy. Hey. One's coming out. Try to get these out so I can show you. It's just wanting to strip kind of like that one did. See if I can get this in the middle. It's not going to work. Already bent my screwdriver a little bit just trying. Basically, I think to get these out, what I would have to do is use a Dremel and cut across, put a line in them in order to remove the screw that's there on each. There was only a $65 difference on rebuilding this carburetor versus me replacing it because of the time it was going to take, and the carburetor really wasn't that expensive. So I'm going to reach back out to the customer. I don't really feel comfortable just rebuilding this for him since there was nothing really in between the needle and the seat that would cause it not to seat right, and it was overflowing. So I don't want to send this out and still have the same issue. If you take this top cap off, all you have to do is replace the gasket up under and screw that back down. Of course, you want to clean down in there while you're at it to make sure everything's in very good shape down through all the passageways. And then we essentially would put our pilot jets back in. Sorry, kind of trying to run through the cleaning and then going to replacement real quick, because I'm sure that's the better option for the customer. I do make more money by rebuilding it, and I wouldn't mind doing it. But if it's going to be better for the customer, that's the option I'm going to choose every time. And it does actually save me a little bit of time, but I don't make as much doing it. And make sure that's all cleaned up. If there's any kind of varnish or debris or flaking on it, you would want to get that completely clean. And then when cleaning the seat on the one side where the needle sits down in, you'd want to use carburetor cleaner and then use either torch tip cleaners like such. I like the large one just to kind of go around the outside and clean anything out. Whatever's in there is going to keep this from sealing right. And then we like just our little nylon brushes along with carb cleaner to clean it. Get that all completely cleaned out. The same thing goes for down through the emulsion tube. I'm not sure why the caps are actually busted off in there. So we would need to remove those completely before we would install the new ones. I'd probably just use a tiny drill bit to run down through there and just get all of that rubber out. And then you want to make sure to clean real well. I'd use a nylon brush or, again, just torch tip cleaner to run down through there, and then a bunch of carburetor cleaner, making sure all of these holes going all the way through did go completely through. Run the smaller ones through the inside of each and clean anything that may or may not be on there off. It's not too difficult of a carburetor. This insulator piece will need to be reused with the new carburetor, and then normally they don't come with the little piece here, so that'll have to be transferred over. I'll talk to the customer and see what he wants to do, but he's going to have to wait. My distributor does not have those caps in stock. I did check, so we would have to wait at least until probably midweek to get this finished. He originally waited for about a week for the rest of the parts, as I made him aware that we can get the carburetor next day, but he wasn't in a huge hurry. So we'll see what he has to say now, and either we'll come back and I'll show you how to remove all that and do this completely, or we will just replace it. But I will show you how to put everything back together. There is a spring in the needle here, so make sure that's springing back good each time. We'll reinstall our float and our pin. I'm just doing this to kind of keep everything together while we wait, make sure nothing gets in there while it sits here. There it goes all the way through. Make sure it's centered up. We make sure our gasket's in good shape. If this isn't in good shape, you'll get an air leak here in between there and the emulsion tube, and it will not run right. Got that on backwards, it looks like. There we go. Just going to put one screw in it for now. Hold it together. Oh, and it looks like I did forget to put the main jets back up in there. So don't forget those. You want those main jets up in after you've cleaned everything. Boy, this wasn't a very good cleaning video, was it? You're realizing, hey, I have everything left over. Why is this? Thought it was going to be pretty straightforward when we started this, after we figured out exactly what was going on. Again, just one screw. Guess I might just put the others in too. I don't have anything loose. But without being able to get that top off and clean down through all of those ports and stuff in here, I wouldn't feel real comfortable doing it without that. It may still have issues or have some debris or something in there. And I don't like sending things back that aren't working 100% like they should be. All right. I'll have to talk to the customer. I'm sure they'll be up in a few hours anyway, and we'll see what's going on. If we do end up having to get the carburetor, it'll be here sooner rather than later. And if we have to end up just getting the plugs, it's going to take a little longer. But we'll finish this up coming up real soon. And if you need the repair kit, it comes with that top one, the bull one. It comes with the one for the fuel solenoid, and then got an extra one in here that off the top of my head I'm not sure what it goes to at the moment, but we'll be right back to finish this up. We've got our new carb here, nice and shiny, real good looking. We do have to put the plastic piece from the old carb into the new one. You just pinch it, it'll come straight out. If yours is broken, you will have to get a new one. As far as the rest of it goes, we do need our plastic insulator piece. Depending on how stuck yours are, you may have to pry or do something different to get it off. There it is. And you want to clean up all that gasket material on the backside. Yeah, this one's stuck on there real nice. A razor blade works well to do that. Don't gouge the plastic, obviously. We want the surface where it's mating with the block to be completely clean. Doesn't look real bad here, but we've got some, looks like leftover Permatex on it. Use some carburetor cleaner on a rag. Just kind of get that off. Really can't even feel any of that there, so it'd probably be fine to leave. You just want it clean as possible. You don't want an air leak there. See all that came off. Leave a bunch of that gasket material and have an air leak, you're not going to be able to control the RPMs. They're just going to race out of control. That or run very poorly. We've got to get the front cleaned up. This one's got that gasket, and he's actually got a gasket on the back side. We're going to clean all this up, take that gasket off that's actually not supposed to be there. There's a rubber gasket on the carburetor that seals here. And then on the front, that rubber gasket was correct without all the Permatex. Or whatever kind of liquid gasket sealer we have. Good. It looks like there's a bunch on there. I can't feel that at all, which means that it doesn't matter. It's not going to keep me from sealing.
Now we're going to put our gasket in the carburetor, the new one. That's going to go to the back. It's going to seal up just great there. Just going to kind of leave it hang there. We're going to hook up our linkage now. Just push it in and flip it over. So that's good. Well, our O-ring's trying to come out. Not staying in there real well. If it keeps coming out, we can put a little bit of grease. You don't want to use regular grease. You use something that isn't oil-based. We use silicone-based grease. Yeah, I don't want to stay in there. Get some of that, stick it on. Just kind of lightly coated it. Should keep it in there real nice. It looks good. We'll put our overflow back on as we're here. I'm going to line up everything in the back, which is going to be, it's going to go just like this. Doesn't really matter which way these gaskets go. Tab at the top, and that's all going to line up as we put this back together. We'll have to put our rubber in the front here, the other one, before we install it. Get everything else hooked up real quick. I'm just going to barely snip the tip off of here, off of where the fuel line hooks up. I have enough room as it comes around. And you don't want it to seal in the same spot that the other one did. I'm going to put a different fuel line clamp on there. Traditional clamp works way better. And now we just have to line everything up as it goes back together. Yes, I do have that gasket on. Just kind of going little by little. Now we're to the back side. Keep everything kind of lined up. I'm going to pull it away just far enough. Slide these in the back. If I can't get a better view. There we go. Everything's lined up good now. We'll make sure that that kind of stays out of the way as we're putting the rest back together and getting it up. Get our breather out of the way. Pull him kind of down to the side. And I've got to come kind of backwards to get the tabs and everything in there. There we go. Looking pretty good. See if I can't start. Yep, they started good. Wrong size. No, it's not. That's still on the right side. Well, I've got it up here. Let's check. It is. As I choke it, that's good. Felt a little weird for some reason. Got all this started. Now looks like my clamp is kind of in the way with it pushing straight up. I just tip it to the side, get it kind of out of the way of that base. Don't really like to if I can wrap it around. There we go. It's kind of just in the way, so it's pushing up real far on the air cleaner housing. There we go. Now we'll make sure that our overflow goes back down to where it should have been. We can put the drain back on at the bottom of the carburetor. Now the drain, I like to throw it in the same hole just to kind of get it out of the way. But it doesn't really matter where it goes as long as it's not hitting anything, because you're not going to use that to drain right where it is anyway. Just kind of want it out of the way. Can hook up our fuel solenoid. Next we have the breather tube. It needs hooked up. Now we've got our two in the top. I connect the base to the air filter base. We've got the air filter. It looks in good shape. And we've got our pre-filter. And there's like a cage in there. Keeps that from deteriorating and pulling in past that screen into the air filter or intake. Normally I would drain the tank and everything if I wasn't sure of the fuel quality. This stuff looked just great. Let's see how this thing runs. This mower is running just beautifully now. We'll get the hood put back on and everything. Customer will have it back just in time to finish cleaning up the leaves. Sometimes trying to save those couple dollars on rebuilding a carburetor with something that's 25 years old is not the smartest thing to do. Sometimes it's better to just replace it. When we only had a $65 spread between the replacement and the rebuild, I tried to convince them to replace the carburetor at that point, but saving a few bucks is saving a few bucks. If you can fix it, hey, go ahead. But in this case, with that being stripped out, it wasn't the brightest idea out there. Plus needing a few more parts than what we had originally figured into the equation. Hopefully this helps you out if you had a similar issue or the same one with your Honda V-twin vertical shaft engine. Don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons if you enjoyed the content. Thank you for watching and have a great rest of your day.